ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bills, Dolphins, AFC East family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And the Bills took care of some family business like they always do, especially against this Dolphins team. Josh Allen now 7-0 on Thursday Night Football. Josh Allen and these Bills have been dominant against these Miami Dolphins. Now 13 games. The last 13 games played, the Bills are 12-1 versus these Miami Dolphins. I said this before the season started. I'm not buying the Miami Dolphins. I still don't think the Bills are the best team in this division. I am not sold on them, but this was a very impressive and dominant performance. I hate the fact that it's going to be overshadowed by Tua having a concussion because they were getting their asses kicked before the concussion took place. Would the game have ended so ho-humish had Tua stayed in the game? Probably not. They probably scored a touchdown on that possession that he got injured on. They probably, make it a more competitive game to the point where Josh Allen doesn't essentially check out of this thing and they just kind of go through the motions. I mean, the fact that Josh Allen finished this game with 19 pass attempts tells you all you need to know about the competitive nature of this game. This was a really dominant performance. Let me just go ahead and say this too. This stream is brought to you by BetUS. Want to also say that 3 interceptions thrown by Tua, and I said prior to this game starting, I said this on the preview for this game on the podcast when I picked the Bills to win this game, that I don't trust Tua Tagovailoa. It's as simple as that. I don't trust Tua. I don't think he is capable of leading this team where they ultimately want to go. And you hate to see him get injured. I held my breath when I saw his arm lock up because we all know that's the universal sign for you've got a concussion. If you've watched enough sports, specifically football, you know when you see arms lock and a guy on the ground, they've lost voluntary control of their movements. Their arm locks up, and at that point, you know that a concussion is taking place. And anytime it happens to Tua in particular, I'm nervous. We literally 2 years ago on this very same program, I want to say it was week 3. So it was sort of close to this time frame in the season against Cincinnati, gets slammed down a week after. Remember, it was a short, quick turnaround. He had been concussed against Buffalo. The team didn't take him out of the game. I don't think they had the independent neurologist then that had to evaluate you to see if you could come out, go back in the game or not. And I think it was that situation that forced the NFL to change their policies as to how players are evaluated for a concussion. Like, you have to come out of the game. You have to go into the blue tent. An independent neurologist has to evaluate you before you get the green light to go back in, because Tua should have never been in that game against the Buffalo Bills in that 2022 Week 2 contest after he got slammed down. He got up, he stumbled, right, but never came out of the game. 4 days later, he gets slammed down again by Cincinnati, and then he has to be carted off the field on a stretcher, and it was a scary, scary sight. Comes back. They kind of chronicled this during the show, or the game rather, but it's amazing that last year he suffered no injuries. He played the whole season, got the contract, all that good stuff. And now, who knows? I mean, even when he walked back to the locker room, he did not look like himself, right? The gait didn't look normal. His equilibrium looked slightly off. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to play football. I'm just going to be honest with you. No one can tell him when enough is enough. But you got to start thinking about someone's well-being and what the future looks like. If you've ever watched like documentaries of players like Jim McMahon, for instance, you just think to yourself, is it worth it, right? Like, how much can you take? How much can one take? When is enough, right? That's a scary situation. We've seen guys walk away from the league, you know, prematurely because of concussions. Luke Kuechly being probably the most notable and the latest to do so. It's not something you play around with. And at some point, Tua's got to start thinking about, you know, how much longer can I endure? He's young, and you would like to think that there's a lot of football left ahead of him, but these are some serious shots he's taken. And the crazy part is this one might have been the least vicious of the three, visible ones that we've seen. But you feel bad for him. But let's talk about the Buffalo Bills, because to the victors go the spoils. We got plenty of time to talk about the Miami Dolphins. This game was all about Buffalo and their ability to absolutely dominate, which is what they did in this game. I was shocked that this game went the way that it did. Not because I didn't think that Buffalo was capable of doing this to Miami. I just didn't think they would. I watched them, and again, I've talked about this already, and I literally talked about this on the show that I just did with Bad Dog on the NFC East Super Friends channel. I think I may have mentioned this on Monday or Tuesday, rather, when we went slate skating, that you can't overreact to results from week one. This is a week-to-week league, and 1 week a team looks dazzling, like New Orleans, for instance, and then the next week they look like hot garbage. A team could look like absolute, dog water, 1 week, and then the next week they look like hot shit, and that's a good thing, not bad thing. And so you just don't really know what to make of it in the NFL sometimes. And I watched Buffalo last week struggle with Arizona, and I think Arizona is going to be a good team this year. And when I say good, I mean competitive, playing for a playoff spot late in the season. Don't know if they'll make it or not, but I think they're going to be a team that surprises some people with the way they play this year. That said, I thought Miami struggled in week one, did not look good, and I talked about that on the podcast. But I thought Buffalo showed weaknesses in areas that I thought the Dolphins may be able to attack and make this game competitive. That said, I still picked Buffalo to win, because until Miami shows me that they're capable of beating a team the caliber of the Buffalo Bills, I'm not going to pick them to win games like this. Conversely, with Buffalo, until they show me that they're no longer capable of winning games like this, I'm going to continue to ride the Buffalo Bills. Now, I think the Jets, a team that they've always struggled with, the Bills, even when the Jets aren't good, they struggle with them because the Jets always play good defense. I think that's the team that's going to ultimately win this division. And because the Jets don't have this rigorous schedule, they're not going to play the Chiefs this year, but the Bills will, right? The Jets probably aren't playing the Ravens this year, but the Bills will, right? Like, the Bills' schedule is way tougher than that of the Jets, and I think ultimately that's what's going to determine, who wins this division. But I thought the defense made a statement tonight. This is more about the defense than it is the offense. The offense did some good things. I still got tons of questions about this Bills offense. I really do. But this was about their defense, because their defense did not look good in week one against Arizona. They struggled to stop Kyler Murray. They struggled, consistently stopping the run, although they had their moments. The red zone defense is probably what won them the game against Arizona. But let me see what the number ended up being in that game. I'm actually curious to go back and see what the red zone defense was for Buffalo in that game. I feel like that's what ultimately saved them. They held the the Cardinals to 2 or 4 in the red zone. That's what saved them in that game. Because there were turnovers early in that game. There were big plays by Arizona in that game that allowed the Cardinals to be in Bills territory in the red zone. And I thought the Bills stood up in the red zone, and ultimately that's what gave them a shot to win that game. Actually looking at the yardage, the Cardinals only had 270 yards of total offense. Now they were 7 of 13 on third downs, which is huge, but they weren't as effective through the air as I thought. They did run the football effectively, which, a lot of it, Kyler Murray. What are you going to do, right? But I thought that between the backs that the Dolphins have and the speed they have with Tyreek and Waddle, they would be able to, exploit this Bills secondary a bit. And that wasn't the case tonight. Credit the Bills secondary for running with those guys, making things tough. Tua was off from the beginning. The first pick, that ball was a mile behind that intended receiver, and got batted into the air and picked off. The second interception, he threw a mile over the head of Robbie Chosen. Was Chosen running the right route? Don't know. Just whatever the case may be, the ball was not where it was supposed to be, or the receiver wasn't where it's supposed to be. The end result, whatever it was an interception. And then the last one is just egregious that you can't have. He's trying to throw it away. And as a Commanders fan, I watched a play like that last year with Sam Howell against the Giants, trying to throw the football away. It doesn't quite make it out of bounds and gets picked off right by the sidelines and returned for a touchdown. It's painful to watch. And so 3 interceptions in a game like this, you got to credit that Bills defense. And then you got to take it a step further, credit the Bills offense for taking those turnovers, because we watched a game on Friday night last week with the Green Bay Packers in a similar situation where they were able to cause turnovers and they weren't able to take advantage, right? They got 6 points off of 3 Eagles turnovers in that game. And or maybe it was 9. They might have gotten another field goal, but they had opportunities to really hurt Philadelphia, and they didn't do it. They didn't take advantage. They didn't get in the end zone. They didn't make them pay. They dropped a pick 6, did the Green Bay Packers. No such luck for the Dolphins tonight, as that ball was on that sideline. It got picked off in return for a touchdown. And the offense of the Bills, specifically the run game, and I told you they were going to use the short pass game, and what did they do? They came out early. Dalton Kincaid screen left. Dalton Kincaid, screen right. Dalton Kincaid on a boot in the flats. Khalil Shakir on a 5 yards, stop. Quick game. Josh Allen peppering them with the short, quick game to loosen them up, and then boom, you hit them with the run game. And that's what I thought they would do. Come out, establish the pass, because to me, the Bills are one of those teams that works in reverse. They establish the pass to set up the run, right? When they get into for instance, they got into a 3rd and short, 3rd and 1, and what did they do? They went to the shotgun, emptied the set to Josh Allen, and he didn't handle the snap well. Muffed it, picked it up. By that time, the timing of the play was kind of jacked up, and so he ended up throwing the football away, and they had to punt. Or I think they actually settled for a field goal on that possession, but it was a punt. I think they punted in that situation. But that's the Bills' offense, right? They're going to run through Josh Allen. They're going to go through Josh Allen, and then as he gets into a rhythm, as he settles in, now here comes the run game. Now you have to deal with James Cook. Now you got to deal with, and I thought Ray Davis actually didn't look too bad tonight either. And so now you got to deal with the run game, but they're going to establish that short, quick game first. And then, because right now, the one deep threat is Valdez-Scantling. Like, none of those other guys are true. Like Curtis Samuel, for as fast as he is, he's not a guy that you usually can go vertical with. He's not a great route runner. He doesn't create a ton of separation, as you saw on that go, a little go ball down the field. He doesn't really create a lot of separation down the field as a deep ball runner, route runner. And so the only guy that really does that is Valdez-Scantling. And we saw last year he struggled to catch the football, and he had the same issues in Green Bay prior to that. So that's not a guy you want to count on in those situations. But I thought Allen did a really good job of just taking what the defense was giving him, not trying to do too much. Loved his ability to extend plays. That throw, I thought the turning point in this game, aside from the turnovers, because it felt like they were going to settle for another field goal after they had done that once already. The turning point was that throw to what's that back's name? I think he went to Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. Ty Johnson, yeah. Ty Johnson. That throw he had to Ty Johnson, that 33-yarder down to the one. I thought that was the turning point. That's a hell of a throw by Josh Allen. A big-time catch by a running back on Jalen Ramsey, no less, in that, scramble situation. Allen, we know how lethal he is as a scrambler to his right. If I'm playing the Bills and Josh Allen, I'm going to pressure him and force him left. He's terrible on the move to his left. That's when the mistakes happen. That's when he makes errant throws that get picked off. That's when he fumbles the football. If you let him get to his right, you can forget about it. Generally he doesn't miss. I was shocked when he missed Valdez-Scantling up that right sideline as he was moving to his right, because generally he doesn't miss moving to his right on the move. He's as accurate as you'll find in the league on the move to his right down the field. So I was shocked when he missed Valdez-Scantling, who had a step or two on the two Dolphin defenders that were in pursuit. So good job at Allen just taking what they were giving him. The run game was dynamic, Cook with the big run. What a cute play by the Bills offensive coordinator. Shucks. It's my guy from Carolina. I forgot his name. They called a timeout, dialed up a beauty. Got a lot of traffic going. Natural pick, gets the James Cook into the flats. No one's even remotely close. And he's able to out leverage the defender, get into the end zone, touchdown on a 4th and Joe Brady. Thank you. Joe Brady. Thank you, DCJ. I thought that was an excellent play call because he knew he was getting man coverage. And so when you get man coverage, you run those shallow crosses and you run that interference in that traffic. You got that defender all the way across the field trying to sort through all of that garbage to get to the running back. No chance that he's able to do that. Cook catches it, turns up the field, and gets in the end zone. It looked 13 of 19 for Josh Allen for 139 yards. I mean, that's not a typical Josh Allen night, but they didn't need him to do anything extraordinary tonight. And you know what? For his situation with his hand and, coming into the game a little banged up, he needed a night like tonight, right? Where he didn't have to do much. He didn't have to be Superman and leap over a pile and dive into the end zone. Let somebody else do that, right? And now you got 10 days off before your next contest. That hand can heal up a little bit more. You're 2-0. You're feeling good about yourself. James Cook was absolutely the man tonight. 3 touchdowns for James Cook, 2 on the ground, 11 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns there. That 49-yarder was electric. Boogie, oogie, oogie, right? Gets through the first wave of defenders, cuts it back outside, and then races to the end zone. Coincidentally enough, against Jordan Poyer, his ex-teammate in Buffalo, and then also had the catch, as I mentioned, on the 4th down, the 17-yarder for the score. The Bills, they're interesting because while I'm not blown away by the offense, because I don't think this formula that they've used the first 2 weeks is going to be, I don't think it'll be enough to beat some of the upper echelon teams, the Kansas Cities, the Baltimores, et cetera, et cetera. But while I am not so sure that you can get away with this method of offensive football where you don't have an alpha receiver. Did anybody even have 50 yards receiving tonight as a receiver? I would guess Dalton Kincaid would be the closest, and I don't think he made it. Khalil Shakir, 54 yards on 5 catches. Okay. I mean, again, he only had 13 completions and 19 attempts. So this is not the night to really analyze the receiving group. But, I mean, it's a very lackluster group. We've seen it now through 2 weeks. No one has stepped up and identified themselves as the guy. And I don't think there will be that. This is going to have to be wide receiver by committee, right? 1 week it's Khalil Shakir. The next week it might be Mac Hollins. The next week it might be Keon Coleman. Did he even have a catch tonight? No. Did he even have a target tonight? 1 target for Keon Coleman. So, like, you just don't know who the guy's going to be. While in certain games, that's cool, right? When you're playing Arizona or you're playing the Indianapolis Colts, that's fine to have, no receiver with 60 yards receiving, no receiver with more than 5 targets, and you're spreading the ball around judiciously. That's great. But when you need it on 3rd and 6 and you're playing Kansas City, who are you going to? That's not a good thing then, right? It's cool when you're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars or you're playing the Tennessee Titans. Anybody can get them, right? I don't think it's not gonna fly when you're playing some of the better teams in the conference. And that's what I worry about. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? At the end of the day, this was a great performance. How about Ed Oliver? Somebody rewind the clock and turned it all the way back to him being the #1 recruit out of high school, right? Somebody told Ed Oliver that he was back in high school again as the #1 player in the nation, because that's the Ed Oliver we saw tonight. I don't know where that guy's been, but shit, he was dominant tonight. I mean, they could not block him. That 4th down sack, that's the thing that champions are made of. That's a move that you only see the best of the best in the NFL get done, right? He's literally talking to his teammate, trying to get him to slide over a gap. They snap the ball, and he just runs over the guard. Like, literally dump trucks him and goes and gets the quarterback, goes and gets Tua. Turnover on downs. They tried to run inside. Now that Ed Oliver stopped it for a 2-yard loss, did it again. He was a man amongst boys tonight. That's a sight for sore eyes. Not that he wasn't really good last year. That's why he got the contract, right? Played really well. Career high in sacks last year with 9.5. That Ed Oliver that we saw tonight, if you could continue to get that type of production from him moving forward, look out. Von Miller's got a sack in 2 straight games. Wait a minute. Could the Bills potentially get a return, just some semblance of a return on investment on Von Miller? I don't think so, but hey, I think Bills fans will take what they've gotten here over the last 2 weeks, which is a sack in each of the last 2 games, and let's see if you can't keep that party going. At this rate, Von Miller's on pace for 17 sacks this season, okay? If he keeps it up. So they'll take it. If he can continue to do this, that's what the doctor ordered there. Gregory Rousseau was really good in week 1. He was solid tonight. Thought he was active tonight. He wasn't getting after the quarterback like he did last week against Arizona, but he was active tonight. So you like what you're seeing. The Terrell Bernard injury concerns me. Don't know the severity of it, but Braylon Spector is not the answer. Not the answer. So you got away with it tonight, but the depth at linebacker will be tested if Terrell Bernard isn't going to be able to come back here shortly. So but I think this was about the secondary, the front and the secondary in particular, and just how good they played, these receivers. I just thought that has there been a more underrated trade in the NFL in the last 2 years than the trade for the corner that the Bills got from Green Bay? What is his name? Let me look him up. I liked him in Green Bay a lot. And boy, has he been good for the damn Buffalo Bills since getting there. Rasul Douglas. Man, has Rasul Douglas just been phenomenal for the Bills. I mean, it's rare to trade in season. And that was like a giveaway trade. It wasn't even like a blockbuster deal. It was like, hey, we need cornerback depth. Hey, are you doing anything with Rasul? Nah, we're not really worried. Yeah, let me get Rasul up off you. All right, cool. Just toss me like a 5th round pick or something, and we'll call it even. I don't know what they traded for him, but that was a win for the Buffalo Bills. He's been phenomenal for them. He's been phenomenal. And, Benford has just, I remember one of my resident Bills fans, I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Jake Hamman. It might have been. I don't think it was him. I think it was Bills fan. Somebody told me about Benford that rookie season when they drafted Kyer Elam in the 1st round. And they took Benford like in the 5th or 6th round or something like that. And he was like, yo, I don't know about Elam, but I'm telling you right now, they like this Benford kid and he might start. And I was like, really? But you drafted Kyer Elam in the 1st round. He's like, look, I'm just telling you what I'm hearing coming out of camp. And sure enough, it was Benford. And man, has he been good too. And, I've always been a Brandon Beane fan. I question some of the moves sometimes. He's pressing a lot of right buttons here. I think they got out of the safety business with those 2 veteran safeties at the right time. Poyer looks cooked, right? Tonight, literally, he got cooked by James Cook on that touchdown run, took a poor angle and couldn't clean up the mess that he made. And, getting Taylor Rapp the way that they did from the Rams. And then, DeMar Hamlin starting. They're pressing all of the right buttons there. I really feel like if the Bills are serious, and we'll see what their record is come late October, if you're really, truly serious about trying to win a Super Bowl, you got to trade for a receiver that can help you win. You can't beat the best teams in football. This isn't the Chiefs last year because your defense, remember, people always want like, they brought up the Chiefs tonight about how they traded away Tyreek Hill and it worked out well for them, right? Yeah. They won the Super Bowl last year because of their defense, not because of their offense. Their offense was the worst that Patrick Mahomes has had in his NFL career. They were not a good offense come playoff time. They literally did enough on offense, but it was really about their defense as to why they won the Super Bowl last year. That's not the formula that you want to use and try to replicate to try and win a Super Bowl. That's why you saw the Chiefs be so aggressive in free agency, getting Hollywood Brown, and then going in the draft, trading up and getting Xavier Worthy to clean up the receiver position because it was not enough. They even went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster when he got released by the Patriots, right? They know that that's not a formula that is a winning one, right? They know you can't win in this league without offensive weaponry. You have to have that. And if I'm Buffalo and we get to the trade deadline and Devontae Adams is, and again, I don't know, Buffalo's, finances might not be where it needs to be to take on a contract like that, et cetera, et cetera. I'm fully aware that the reason they cut bait on a lot of these players was because of their cap situation. But if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, which is the goal in Buffalo, and let's say you get to the trade deadline and you're 6-2, 7-1. I don't know when your bye week is, but you're one of the best teams in football and you're playing well, but this isn't enough. You got to do something at the trade deadline. I think like that could be the move that puts you over the top. Because I'm just telling you right now, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with this group of guys as your skill group. You're just not going to get it done. But you're going to win a lot of regular season games because we've said this before, and I'll continue to say this. When you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you're going to have a chance to be good every single year. But being good isn't the goal when you've already established that we're one of the best teams in the conference and we've won our division, 4 years in a row now. 2020 was the Patriots last. 2019 was the Patriots last year with Brady. I don't even think they won the division that year. They might have won the division in 19. 2020 was the Bills' first year winning the division, if I'm not mistaken. And they've won it ever since. So 20, 21, 22, 23. So yeah, 4 years now and running, you've won the division. So being good that's not the goal in Buffalo. We expect them to be good. We expect them to be a playoff team. I don't have them winning the division this year, by the way. I've got the Jets winning that division this year. And I know people are going to overreact to week 1 with the Jets. I'm not. They play one of the best teams in football and got trounced. Aaron Rodgers hadn't played in the preseason. This was, in effect, their first preseason game. That's what week 1 served as for the Jets, a preseason game. They'll work out the kinks, and they'll continue to get better. Let's see what they do against Tennessee this upcoming week, the Jets. But if you're a Bills fan, this is about as good as a start to the season after, the rocky 17-3 start against Arizona, right, where you're kind of questioning what the hell is going on right now. After that rocky start and you woke up and you started to play the kind of football that you're accustomed to seeing this team play, you couldn't have really asked for a better start. You get the win, in some games, just find a way to win. 3 weeks from now, we won't be talking about how, rocky a start it was against Arizona and how, you had to battle back and win that game and you gave up a kick return and all. We won't be talking about any of that shit. We'll just know you won that game 34-28. That's all we'll know. That's all we care about. And so just find a way to win. And for you to go on the road, destroy and dismantle and disassemble the Miami Dolphins on national television the way that you did tonight, and have your defense be the catalyst after I don't want to call it a lethargic performance, because it wasn't a terrible performance against Arizona, but it wasn't the standard that had been set in previous years. To go there and do what you did to Miami, and I think some of that is on Miami. We'll get to them in a second. You got to feel good. 2-0, good start. What's the schedule look like for Buffalo? Coming up here, I'm actually interested. I just talked about this. They got the Jaguars next on Monday Night Football. I think the Jags are gonna bounce back. They should have won and beat this Dolphins team that we saw tonight, but that'll be an interesting one on Monday Night Football. And then the week after that, the Bills are at the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. And then after that, they got the Texans on the road. So we're going to find out. And then after that, they got the Jets. So we're going to find out how good the Bills are very fast, because I think they could lose 3 out of their next 4, if not all 4 of these next games. They should beat Jacksonville on Monday Night Football. But I've seen the Bills go home on a Monday night and play like dog shit. We watched it happen twice last year against the Broncos and the Giants. Lost one of those games and should have lost the other to the Giants and Tyrod Taylor, right? So we know that they're fully capable of going on national television and vomiting all over themselves, but I don't think they're going to do that. But I don't see them beating the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. I don't see them beating the Texans on the road in Houston, and I don't see them beating. That's 3 straight road games at that. At Baltimore, at Houston, at the Jets in successive weeks. And boy, they're feeding us some Dolphins early or some Bills early in the season. Check this out. We just got them on Thursday Night Football, right? We got them on Monday night next week against the Jags. The week after that, so 3 weeks in a row, they're going to be on national television, okay? Because after the Monday night game, they're on Sunday night against the Ravens, okay? So that's 3 weeks in a row of Bills on national television. Thursday, Monday, Sunday. You get a week off from them as they play the Texans on CBS, and then right after that, you get the Jets on Monday Night Football the following week after that. So there, you got 4 Bills primetime games in 5 weeks. So you're gonna witness this Bills team, and you're gonna be able to come up with your own narrative surrounding this Bills team. I've already got mine. That this is a good team. You got Josh Allen, so you're gonna have a shot. but the skill group isn't good enough. Not when you play the likes of the Ravens, the Texans, and the Jets. And I think we're going to see that. They got a chance to prove me wrong and shut me up. They got a chance to prove me wrong and shut me up. But you're on the road for 3 consecutive games against teams that I think are going to be playoff teams this year, 2 of which were last year, and the Jets I think are going to be a playoff team this year. And you're on the road for all 3 in succession, right? At Baltimore, at Houston, at the Jets. We'll find out a lot about the Bills. And if they come out of that thing still alive and not just surviving, but thriving, then I'll have to change my tune. We'll see what that looks like. By the time we get to mid-October, Monday night, October 14th, when they take on the Jets, by the time 11:30 or so rolls around on October the 14th, I'll feel like I've got the pulse of the Buffalo Bills. I'll know who they are and what their capabilities are this year, right? And obviously they can get better, but again, they come out of that thing and they're still looking good and sitting pretty. At that point, I'm saying, hey, in a couple of weeks, you need to be scouring the NFL, looking around to see if anybody's got a receiver on the market, because you might have a shot this year. This is a ridiculous schedule, man. This Bills schedule, this is why they're not going to win the division. This schedule is utterly ridiculous. I just told you who they're playing, right? I just told you about this, Jags, Ravens, Bills, or Texans, Jets, right? And remember, Ravens, Texans, Jets, all on the road in a row. All right. Listen to these teams that they have later on down the road. Chiefs, 49ers, Rams, Lions, Jets again, Bears, Steelers. Yikes. Okay. And the last 2, all right, we don't know what the Bills, what the Steelers are going to be. We don't know what the Bears are going to be. Or excuse me, that was preseason. Sorry about that. So, yeah. Chiefs, 49ers, Rams, Lions. On top of Jets, Texans, Ravens. Ouch. They come out of that and they still win the division this year. They earned it. Big time. Big time. Let's talk about the Dolphins real quick, because this was a bad performance. Tua was awful tonight. And again, I hate the fact that his concussion is going to overshadow the fact that he was awful tonight. He was absolutely downright horrible. Tua had a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day. 3 interceptions, 2 in the first quarter. My wife's like, I'm going upstairs. I don't have time for this shit. After the second interception, I was like, no, stay here, man. Watch this with me. At least give me the first half. And she was ready to go after the second pick. She's like, it's the first quarter. He's thrown 2 picks already. He's so trash. I was like, man, give him a chance. She wasn't trying to hear that shit. She even after they scored their first touchdown, she said, they're going to get blown out tonight. I said, why you say that? She said, because Tua's garbage. I'm like, damn, what did he do to you? She's like, nah, they over here D-riding this man, and he trash. And I wanted to say something like, he's not trash. I was about to say she's not wrong, but he's not trash, but he's just not capable of taking the Dolphins where they want to go. And that's the tough place about being in the NFL with quarterbacks. If you got a guy, like the Giants had a gun to their head a couple of years ago, Daniel Jones takes you to the playoffs, you win a playoff game, you got a gun to your head, what you got to do? You're going to re-sign Daniel Jones, because what's the alternative? The alternative is being one of these teams out here with no quarterback and going through the wilderness and hoping and praying that you get lucky, right? Nobody wants to be, one of these teams with a journeyman veteran as your starting quarterback. Nobody wants to be that. So it beats the alternative. You got to sign your guy back. But Tua's not beating Mahomes. He's not beating Lamar Jackson. You saw what happened when the Dolphins played the Ravens last year. You saw how out of control that game got. We've seen what happened. We saw what happened in the playoffs when they played the Chiefs. We see what happens every time they play the Bills. He's not beating these quarterbacks, man. And I get it. It's a team game, all of that, yada, yada, yada. Quarterbacks matter. Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? They matter. And Tua's just not built for that kind of, that kind of battle. Tua's not the guy that is fighting for, in championship fights. Tua's the guy you spar with to get ready for the championship fight, right? He's the guy that he allows you to, get better, right? Guy that's going to help you get ready for the guy that you're fighting for a championship belt. And this Dolphins offense, while it's dynamic, if they're not getting big plays, if they're not getting explosives, you can slow them down. They're built off of the explosive play. I don't want to call them a one-trick pony, but just think about this. In all the times you've watched the Dolphins since Mike McDaniel has taken over, think about this. When you've watched the Bills, or the Dolphins, excuse me, since Mike McDaniel has taken over, think about the games that you've watched and how many times they've sustained and scored on a 12, 13, 14 play drive. Think about how many times you've seen that. Now think about how many times you've watched them, or you've been watching a game and they cut to a game break and it's Tyreek Hill 80 yards, it's Tyreek Hill 67 yards, it's Jalen Waddle 59-yard touchdown, it's Raheem Mostert 67-yard touchdown run, it's Devin Achane 68-yard screen, or Devin Achane 68-yard run. How many times have you seen that? That's who they are. They're a big play offense. They're explosive and dynamic. That's their calling card. You take that away from them and you force them to matriculate the ball down the field, nickel and dime you. They're not the same team. When shit's going well, they'll score 70 on your ass like they did the Broncos last year. Big play after big play. Tua led the league in pass yards last year. Like, we know what they're capable of. But if you take that away, the Bills took that away tonight. Yeah, you're not doing the deep shit. No, we're not doing that. You can do the underneath shit. But the minute Tua tried to push it into that intermediate, first of all, we know Tua didn't have the strongest arm in the world. Okay. We know Tua didn't have the strongest arm in the world. So now we're going to take away that deep shit. We're going to force you to throw it underneath. And we're going to force you to be patient. And when you try to get greedy and you try to fit it into some of one of these tight windows, you're going to make a mistake. And he did 3 times tonight, 2 in particular, and then he tried to throw one away. Defensively, I don't know what to make of the Dolphins. I really don't. I know they're not 100% healthy, but I'm still I'm interested in the thought process behind not bringing back Christian Wilkins. Look, I'm not telling you that Christian Wilkins was some kind of generational talent. He wasn't Chris Jones. He wasn't his Clemson teammate, Dexter Lawrence. He wasn't one of those guys that was just a constant disruptor. Excuse me, but he was a good player inside. I don't feel like they have a guy anymore inside. Like, it felt like it was too easy for the Bills to run the football tonight. Obviously, there was the big touchdown run, but I just thought they had, even Ray Davis, let me see how much he had tonight. It felt like he ran the football well. I could be overrating his night. Felt like he had a really solid night toting the rock. Ray Davis, 9 carries, 29 yards. And some of those runs probably came in garbage time that brought the average down when, the game was no longer in the balance. And so the Dolphins are loading up to stop the run. I thought he ran the ball well tonight. It just feels like this Dolphins defense, even last week against Jacksonville, I felt like Jacksonville had opportunities. And remember, if not for the fumble, and I know I brought this up, before and on other programs and things of that nature, but if not for the fumble by Travis Etienne at the 1 going in for the score, that game's over. It's 24-7. The Dolphins were kind of in no man's land. This has been a really bad start to the season for the Dolphins. They should be 0-2 right now. And they've looked lost in the first half of each of their first 2 games this season. And, Mike McDaniel at halftime of both of these games was like, I don't know how you're supposed to be when you're not playing well. I don't think just going in and yelling at the top of your lungs is the move and the answer when things aren't going well. You have to remain true to who you are. He's a laid back guy, kind of gives me like California surfer type vibes, like kind of just like, hey, dude, it's like we got to stay mellow and kind of chill, right? Like he gives me those kind of vibes. Like when he's doing interviews, he's like, yeah, like, we got to just do like the things that we know we're capable of doing, like we just can't, turn the ball over. I mean, turn over 3 times. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Right. Like, whatever, like you can't do that, and I'm like, that's how a coach talk. He just, I don't know. Right. When shit's going well, it's going well. Right. But when it doesn't, is that the kind of guy that's going to turn it around for you? I don't know. Right. This season could go from bad to worse very quickly. Again, they're 1-1. They're not 0-2. Thank goodness for the fumble and the comeback in week 1. Or you're 0-2 and Tua could be in doubt for the next few weeks. You could easily have this season spiral out of control. But because you're 1-1, who knows? With these 10 days off, we'll see what Tua's prognosis is. My guess is he's going to miss at least a game or two. But, who's to say, right? I don't really know what to make of the Dolphins. I'll be honest with you, but this was a thorough ass kicking tonight. I'll tell you that much. So yeah, Junior Rudy says he's from Colorado. I remember that because he was a big fan of the Broncos. That's how he got into football. Was he was at their training camp one year and he got spotted by the Shanahans, and that's how he ended up as one of their like interns and assistants. And then, from that point on, that's how the juice is made. Right. So it's weird. Right. We'll see what happens with him, because I'm just, I'm not sure that the intended results for this Dolphins team this year and the expectations are going to be met. I think when they signed Tua to that deal, they were expecting this team to take the next step. Making it to the playoffs isn't good enough. Let's go win the division. Buffalo seems to be weakened. Nobody knows what the Jets are. The Patriots are a non-factor. Let's go win the division. Let's not have to subject ourselves to frigid temperatures when we're a tropical climate team. Let's have a home playoff game. That was the goal, right? We're 2 weeks in, and anything can happen. Tua could be back in a week. They got 10 days off. Tua could be ready for the next game for all we know. And then they could get hot, start scoring points like they're going out of style, and next thing you know, you look up, they're 6-2. I highly doubt that, though. That's not the vibe I'm getting from them right now. Anyway, we'll see what happens. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Anyway, looking for a new book this season. BetUS is the answer. Fastest payouts in the industry. There are some opportunities. I had a stream last night talking about the Commanders and some of the prop bets on BetUS and how they're giving you opportunities to win some money. You get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Again, how many sites are doing that? How many books are doing that, right? How many books are giving you an opportunity to get your money back, right? BetUS is up the ante for my viewers. 150% sign-up bonus on up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150. Go to betus.com, which is what I'm on right now. As you can see, you have you got prop builders. You can build your own props. You can, get up here, peruse the site, see what makes sense for you. You want games, you want the half. Click on prop bets. You name it, you can get it done. You want to bet on futures, you want to bet on regular season wins, conference. They got all the odds. Take your pick, right? BetUS.com. Promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% off on the sign-up bonus and up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Doesn't get much better than that, folks. So let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say about the game we watched tonight and how you feeling about the two teams that took part in the game we watched tonight. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, well, there goes that Dolphins shit. Look, man, you were the one that said you had the Dolphins winning the division. I was like, JP, I love you to death, buddy, but I don't know what prompted you to feel like the Dolphins were ready to take that step. And again, I'm not overreacting, but Tua's injury doesn't instill confidence in me. And I'm telling you, these first 2 weeks, even if Tua had not gotten a concussion and he would left this game perfectly fine, they were going to lose anyway because he was playing like horse shit. And I mean, it wouldn't have been 31-10. This thing might have ended, 38-23 or something like that. 38-24, right? It wouldn't have been 31-10, which is the score when he left the game. But they were going to lose this game. And he didn't play well. And so I'm just, again, they're lucky to be 1-1 and not 0-2 right now. He says they can't beat Buffalo to save their lives. Is this the beginning of the end for Tua? The first thing that came to my mind when he got this concussion, and they talked about all of his family members being in the locker room with him, his wife, his 2 kids, mom, dad. The first thing that came to my mind is, how much longer are we going to do this for, buddy? Because at some point, and I don't expect him to, call it quits right now. He just got that contract. I don't think he's going to hang it up right now, but I mean, how many more of these you going to take before you say to yourself, I got to really start thinking about my future? I got 2 kids and I want to be there for them when they're older, right? Physically and cognitively. It's been rough for him. I think there are some decisions that have to be made that, like, he's got to sit down and talk to his family and really start thinking about his life and his football future and what that looks like, and start to put some plans in place. Like, hey, if I get another one of these, then I might have to reevaluate my future. Like, this is the 4th major concussion he sustained in the last 3 years. He had 3 in 1 year in 2022. Like, magically, last year, nothing. I was so happy that he stayed healthy all of last year, had his best season of his career, obviously, got the contract, and then boom. And one of the issues with Tua is he doesn't protect himself. And it reminds me so much of Robert Griffin III. These guys that have these smaller frames and they don't know how to fall. They don't know how to avoid big hits. They fall like a rag doll. When you sling them down, they head first, bow onto the ground, and almost like they can't control their bodies or something. There are guys that they have the art of avoiding the knockout blow or the big shot. Lamar avoids the big shot. I think Jaden Daniels, we can say all you want about him taking big shots and this. He avoids the knockout blow, though, right? Russell Wilson was the master at that when he would run. You would never get a good shot on Russell Wilson, right? Which is why he never really missed games in his career, because you never could get that clean shot on him. Some guys just know how to protect themselves. Tua doesn't know how to protect himself. Every time he gets hit, it looks like a train wreck. I don't know, man. Earlier, Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Duncan Wright, writes, earlier tonight, I exposed Rio to an Eagles fan. Now I will prove you are a Dallas fan unless you beg me not to. Beg me, Lou, beg. Why would I beg you not to? I'm not a Cowboys fan. I guess this is your response to me saying that you're a closet Commanders fan, which you are. It's okay. There's no shame in that. I get it. A lot of Commanders fans have been hiding the last 25 years, and you're one of them, and that's okay. It's okay to come out now. The bad man is gone. The boogeyman is gone. You can come outside. It's okay. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Duncan writes, I got Rio, now it's your turn. Remember, I'm the man and use it your own videos against you. I have proof you're a Dallas fan. You want some? How many drinks you had tonight? How many you had tonight, Duncan? You okay? You all right? You have your translator? Is your translator on standby? Okay. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. We got about 20 minutes roughly. We can get into some stuff if y'all want. If not, we'll get out of here. John Wynn says Tua keeps throwing interceptions almost 3 times in a game. Like, come on, man. What is that, Tua? Yeah, it was a rough game for him. Junio Rudy writes, I'm a Jets fan, but Buffalo is king until proven otherwise. Prayers up for Tua. I think this should be it for him. I think there needs to be a real conversation amongst him and his family as to what the next course of action is. Like, I know he wants to keep playing, and he was adamant after the concussions in 2022 that he was going to keep playing. But I know that his family, if they had it their way, they'd probably be like, all right, man. You've made money. You've helped this family. We appreciate the sacrifices that you've made. But at some point, and I know his dad is like, I think I watched either a documentary or it was something on him, like a little special, a little quick, like 10-minute special or whatever. His dad is a no-nonsense guy, like sort of military-ish, right? So I don't know what the thought process is there. His dad might be like, hey, you can push through this. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is there. But I know wifey's probably like, yo, we don't need this shit. We got enough money. We set, we good. Let's just go enjoy our kids and enjoy the rest of our lives. Like, it's easier said than done, though. You know, this is all he's known since he was a kid, man. Playing football, having fun. Easy for us to say, hey, hang it up. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? And to your point, until somebody knocks Buffalo off the throne, they've won the division 4 years in a row. They're the Kings till otherwise notified. I'm taking the Jets this year, though. Easier schedule, and they know how to play Buffalo. Unlike the rest of these teams in the division, and even New England sometimes gets their number, but the Jets know how to play Buffalo. They know how to get under Josh Allen's skin, create turnovers, muck the game up. I'm taking the Jets this year. You're not wrong, though. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Duncan writes, I'll prove some other time. Feeling too good. At least I got Rio. He wore an Eagles jersey in high school, and I should prove on a vid. I'll get you later. You ain't got no video of me wearing Cowboys gear. Okay. So I don't know what kind of proof you think you got on me, but good luck with that. Of course, you'll prove it some other time. Eh, um, let's see. We left off right here. Devin Achan did look good tonight, though. I see a lot of y'all talking about him, and also, I remember saying, like, how many fast running backs do you need when they drafted Wright out of Tennessee this year? But Mostert had a career year last year, and he stayed healthy. But Mostert's career has been full of injuries too, so it makes sense now. And then you saw tonight they needed him because Achan was a game time decision. No Mostert. If those two couldn't go, Jalen Wright would have been the starting running back tonight. So it all makes sense now. Yeah. I see my guy, MP, said his hand balled up immediately. You saw it. Everybody knows that look when your shit just locks up. We all know that look. I was like, oh no. And it was a hard hit, but it didn't look like the type of hit that would warrant a concussion, which means you can tell that the previous concussions sustained have made him more susceptible to being concussed. Because again, and you never know what the hit is going to be that gets you concussed, because everything is different for every individual, right? You hit somebody in the perfect spot and lights out, baby, right? You know how many guys I've seen? Dalton Kincaid took a knee on that second wide receiver screen that he caught. He took a vicious knee from a defender running by him as he's on the ground. He's getting up and bow, knee hits him in it. You know how many guys I've seen go out cold off of that hit to the head, right? And it took him a little while. He had some cobwebs after that. He rolled over and he was like, yeah. And you could tell, but he was like, let me get up. Because if I don't, they're going to try to make me come out the game, take my helmet from me, all of that stuff. I'm good. But, it's rough out there. And, when you sustain an injury, you're more susceptible. Like I remember Brian Arakpo tore his pec. And after the first time he tore it, he was susceptible to tearing it again. And what did he do? He tore his pec again. And so when you injure yourself, you're more likely to do it again, right? You're more susceptible, rather, not likely. You're more susceptible to doing it again. That hit didn't seem like one that should concuss you, but when you've had the series of concussions that Tua has had, you're more susceptible to having it done again, right? It's an unfortunate set of circumstances. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Dolphins trade for a QB. We got that Mariota. Oh, you trying to push that Mariota pack? It sounds like you in the corner. Hey, got that Marcus? Got that Mariota? I don't see them. Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts on that. If your starting quarterback gets injured and you're prompted to trade for a quarterback, you aren't winning anything at that point. So trading for a quarterback doesn't do you really any good, right? I remember when Teddy Bridgewater got injured in Minnesota and they gave a first round pick to the Eagles for Sam Bradford. How'd that work out? Last year when Kirk Cousins went down, the Vikings traded for Josh Dobbs. How'd that work out? Right? Like, if your quarterback gets injured and you have to trade for another quarterback, the chances are your season's already done. It's not like the Dolphins had Super Bowl aspirations, and it's not like Marcus Mariota or any other quarterback that you'd be trading, because nobody's trading you their starting quarterback. It's not like, the Jaguars are like, hey, you need a quarterback? Here's Trevor Lawrence. No, you can't have Trevor Lawrence, but you can have CJ Beathard. Where's CJ Beathard going to take you, right? Where's CJ Beathard going to get you, right? The Steelers can say, hey, I got 2 quarterbacks. Neither one of them are really starters. Which one you want? You can have either one. Name your price. Where's Justin Fields or Russell Wilson taking you? Nowhere. Good luck, right? But you're not getting anybody starting quarterback. So at this point, you're doomed, right? You're doomed. If you get to this point and your quarterback's gone, you're doomed. I seen Ryan Tannehill's name down here. And is he on the roster? I don't think he's on the NFL roster now, is he? Hey, they told me Ryan Tannehill couldn't go back home. You know when he heard that? When he was back home. No time like the present to make that situation right again. All right. Let's see. I see y'all killing Duncan in the comment section. J Cam Man 99, my guy J Cam Man writes, so far there's always been one open receiver every play, just gotta find him. I mean, again, the level of competition hasn't been superior to this point. And that's cool. And it's nice when somebody's open on every play. So as long as you can keep that going, that's great. But again, at some point, somebody being open on a 5-yard pass won't be good enough. At some point, you're going to need somebody to make a play. Like actually physically go down the field and make a play. Is there a receiver on the roster right now that can do that? Outside of your tight ends, to me, the answer is no. I don't see a single receiver capable of taking over a game or making that big play. Like, for instance, Curtis Samuel on that deep ball, all he had to do was stop and let the defender run into him, and that's PI. But that's not who he is. He's not going to draw that flag. I watched him in Washington do the same thing. Like, bro, you're not catching this football. Just stop. Let the guy who is not looking for the ball, it's a linebacker in coverage. He's not even tracking the ball. Just stop and let him run into you. But he doesn't have the presence of mind to do that. Now, Curtis Samuel can be really good for you if you utilize him correctly. I actually wanted Washington to re-sign him because he was really good for us last year. And he could do the same for you. But we'll see. We'll see if these receivers turn out to be good enough for you or not. Commissar Brown writes, I watched your earlier episode, not sure who to pick today, and I know I am late. Who did you pick? If you watched my episode earlier today, then you know who I picked. Pick Buffalo to win this game. Now, I thought it was going to be closer. I had Buffalo winning this game, I think 24-20. I think I had them winning this game. And I said that how I thought the game would finish was they wouldn't, because I don't trust Buffalo to get late game stops. Okay. Last year, I'm not even a Bills fan, and I was on pins and needles at the end of every game. They lost to New England late in the ball game because they couldn't get a stop. Let Mac Jones drive it down the field, score a touchdown. They should have lost to the Giants late in that game. Couldn't get a stop defensively until they got to the 1-yard line, and the Giants had like 16 cracks from the 1-yard line and still couldn't get it in. They couldn't stop the Broncos late in that game, right at the end, and let the Broncos get that walk-off field goal and beat them. They had that game against Tampa where they gave up the Hail Mary and the guy was wide open and somehow he didn't catch the ball. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here with Buffalo and these late game, defensive lapses and breakdowns and things of that nature. If not for your boy being offsides last year, Kansas City scores that touchdown with Travis Kelce late in that game to take the lead. Luckily enough for Buffalo, I had Buffalo in that game, so I was glad that Kadarius Toney was offsides. But Yeah, I have zero confidence in their ability to get a stop late in the game when they need it. Zero. I was nervous that let me see. I feel confident, but I don't want to misspeak. So let me check and see. But I feel like they got to stop last week. And I thought they got to stop to end that game last week, but I wasn't sure. They got the field goal at the end with about a minute and a half left in that game to take the 34-28 lead. And I was like, man, I wouldn't be shocked if Kyler Murray, bust their skull right now with a touchdown drive. And they started moving for a little while, right? But they ultimately stalled out, and the Bills were able to preserve the victory. So that's a good sign, because last year in that same spot last year, they puked away a lot of opportunities, or almost did. So we'll see. I had them winning 24-20, I believe, and I said they were going to get a first down at the end to ice the game because I didn't trust them to get a stop to preserve the victory. Metaphor says Tua had that hand crooked again while he was down. Yeah. Once I saw that, I got nervous. Me and my wife were kind of holding our breath. The good thing was immediately when he went down, he was moving. So I wasn't like the Bengals game, he wasn't moving at all. So that was scary. Tonight he was moving. So I was like, okay, he's coherent, but he's out of it. You know what I mean? Like he's aware that he's at a football game, but he probably can't tell you what the hell's going on. He doesn't know what down it is. He doesn't know what just happened or anything like that. Probably doesn't even know what day of the week it is. You know what I mean? Like he got his bell rung. His eggs were definitely scrambled at that point. Casper the Barbarian writes, it might be time for Tua to hang it up. My bad for being late. Just switched over from nightcaps with Unc and Ocho. Yeah, that was a rough go of it. Metaphor writes, when do those week 2 winners and losers sheet picks come out? Tomorrow. They'll be out tomorrow. Junio Rudy says, Scary Terry, Cortland Sutton, Tay Adams are names to watch for Buffalo. Yeah, especially Cortland Sutton. I could easily see Denver. They haven't made a right move since they got there yet. I could see them trading off Cortland Sutton and Sean Payton getting what he ultimately wants, which is just to start anew, just like start fresh. That GM's it's crazy because I think the Waltons and the ownership group had more to do with Sean Payton's hire than the GM out there. I think Sean Payton ultimately is going to win. Feels like a sort of a power struggle out there. Payton doesn't want any of his guys that he's drafted or signed or anything. And he's going to remake that team in his image. And I think he's going to ultimately get rid of that GM and get a new guy in there, to be honest with you. I could see Cortland Sutton getting traded. Wouldn't shock me. Devontae Adams is definitely going to get out of Vegas at some point. Whether it's trade deadline, the offseason, it just feels inevitable at this point. And I wouldn't, you know what? Terry McLaurin is very interesting. You know, I wouldn't be shocked if Washington gets to the deadline, they're 2-6 and struggling, and Terry McLaurin's having a whole Humish type year. I wouldn't be shocked if somebody said, I'll give you a 2 for him, and they take it. They did it with Montez Sweat and Chase Young last year. Montez Sweat fetched them a 2. Chase Young fetched them a 3. I wouldn't be shocked if they did that. I don't think they will. And I don't think that's going to ultimately be the situation, but you just never know, man. When you get a new regime, all bets are off and all scenarios are possible. All scenarios are possible. I didn't think they would trade Jahan Dotson, and voila, look what happened, right? So anything's possible. JD5 season says the Dolphins probably started concocting a contract for Brady already. Is Brady still under contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Or was that contract up when he retired? Because how it works is if you retire and you're still under contract, your rights still belong to the team that you were under contract with when you decided to retire. Like if Andrew Luck decided tomorrow that he wants to play football again, his rights are with the Indianapolis Colts. It's not like he could just go anywhere he wants. I don't know if Tom Brady is a free agent, technically, if he were to come back. But at one point, was Brady trying to buy some of the Dolphins, or was that the Vegas Raiders? Felt like he was trying to buy into one of these NFL franchises. And the NFL is like, well, if that happens, if you become like, a partial owner of one of these teams, we're gonna have to limit what you can do as a broadcaster. Like, we can't let you be in at practice and things of that nature. Thought the Dolphins were one of those teams. Didn't the Dolphins get in trouble for tampering for Brady once upon a time, a few years ago? Felt like that was the case. DCJ, Tua's head bounced on the ground on that pick six throw. He had deer in the headlights before the concussion hit. Interesting. I said, you know what? I did not see that. Maybe that's when it happened. He stayed in the game, and in that hit, because like I said already, that hit that he took from Hamlin, it wasn't like a nondescript hit. It was a pretty solid hit that he took, head first too, I may add. But it didn't seem like the kind that would have your shit lock up. But again, I said this. Everyone's different. Every hit is different. And sometimes you just hit the perfect spot, just like with DeMar Hamlin. How many times have we seen guys have that same hit that he had, but he got hit in the perfect spot with the perfect, with his heart, maybe beating at the same time as the hit. And like everything was perfect for his entire body and his heart to shut down and his body and everything to stop. And for him to collapse, So maybe I'm going to go back and look at that pick six and see what happened there. You might be right. That might have been what set the stage for the hit later on that put him down for good. You might be right. Colin talking sports. This will be the last one right here. Does Jaden slide along with him already having a concussion against Alabama scare you? No. I'd rather him do that slide than do what Tua did and try to take on a defender and get hit. Jaden had the one hit that his helmet popped off. It looked worse than it was. It really wasn't that bad. The hit he took against Alabama, that was helmet to helmet in the pocket as he's throwing the football. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. Guy got called for targeting. Right? Like, what can you do? But no, I'm not concerned at all. Told you guys that already. Anyhow, that's gonna do it for me. Your man Louie T. Dominant performance by the Buffalo Bills. This was impressive, man. I thought they would win this game. I did not think they were going to win in this fashion. 31-10 is the final score here. Bills dominate the Dolphins in every facet of the game. The lone blemish on this was probably the missed field goal late by Tyler Bass. All right. Other than that, it was a perfect night. Josh Allen Didn't have to do too much. So now the hand gets to really heal. Didn't aggravate it. Didn't put himself in harm's way. Wasn't out here running, trying to dive over people. Because, you know, Josh wasn't going to, you know, play the game any differently. If it called for him to run and run somebody over or dive for a first down or dive for a touchdown, he was going to do it. He didn't have to do any of that tonight. The running game looked good and effective and efficient. They continue to spread the ball around. And I thought what was most impressive was the defense. They took this high-octane Dolphins offense that's used to creating explosives, minimized that, took away the explosive plays, turned Tua over 3 times, stopped them in short yardage situations. I mean, Ed Oliver was a man amongst boys. The secondary was fantastic tonight. And they took it to a Dolphins team that got away last week with a win that they had no business getting, but you knew they were going to come out inspired this week, knowing that this is the team that runs the division. We got them at home early. We got a chance to send a message, and that's what they did. They sent a message that they weren't ready. Credit the Bills, though. Credit the Bills. 31-10. Bills are now 2-0 on the season. We're going to find out a lot about these Buffalo Bills over the next month. I promise you. Over the next month, Jags at home on a Monday night. The following week, Ravens on the road on Sunday Night Football. The week after that, Texans on the road on CBS. The week after that, Jets on the road on a Monday night. We're going to find out a lot about the Buffalo Bills over the next month. So, Tua Tagovailoa, concussion, left the game, did not return. A lot of questions surrounding his future with another concussion. You got to start asking yourself that, what's the future for Tua Tagovailoa look like as the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins? A lot of questions, not a lot of answers for the Miami Dolphins at this current moment. They have not looked good this season, and now you got questions at the quarterback position. So let me give a shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this stream. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS has got you covered. Once again, go to betus.com, put in the promo code YouTube150, get you 150% sign-up bonus on up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Promo code YouTube150. Once again, big shout out to BetUS. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bills get it done 31-10, move to 2-0 in the season. Dolphins fall to 1-1, but more importantly, lose Tua Tagovailoa to a concussion. Now we wait for the severity of the concussion and see where they go next. They've got 10 days between now and their next game, and so we'll see what happens. But not a good situation if you're the Miami Dolphins. That is for certain. See you guys next time. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.